I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor of Gold Derby, here with Forrest Whitaker, star of Godfather of Harlem, which is back for a second season on Epix. Forrest, when we last spoke about a year ago, you
Huh?
said that this show is ultimately about the desire for the American dream by any means necessary. And I really took to that because it made me realize why it's so appealing. It's fascinating that we can empathize with a dangerous, morally questionable man who is supposed
Mhm.
to be repugnant. Why is that so?
I mean, I think he's somebody who's like fighting to take care of his family and his life. Someone who's like given the opportunities that he has. He's reaching for a success in his life, and he's hitting a lot of obstacles and stuff, but he's willing to navigate them and to fight for what he thinks is equal and right. I think that quote's really relevant because I think all the characters in some ways are sort of fighting for this dream. In my case, I'm doing it by any way I can or by any means necessary. You know?
Yeah. So season two opens in February 1964. Bumpy is working to reclaim command over Harlem from the Italians, which I really take to given my Italian heritage. But the Italians are kind of the bad guys, and which is also quite fun. He's trying to infiltrate this lucrative French connection heroin pipeline from Marseille. I never really knew much about it, so it's something that I'm really looking forward to learning about. But can you set the scene for us? Like it literally opens in the middle of the action. You're in a car chase. But
Right.
what more can we look forward to for season two?
Well, I mean, what happens is I had these sanctions by the five families to kill me. So there's hitmen trying to kill me, and people in the family are trying to kill me. So that's where we meet Bumpy. He's been on the run for 3 months, but he's kind of made a decision, and the decision is that if the only way he could really get these guys under control and take these sanctions off his head is if he could control the drug route from Marseille, which is the French Connection. So when we meet him, we see him like first talking to the French Connection, and then ultimately him being able trying to make a deal with them. But then with Shinji Ganti or Vincent's character, um, I make a partnership because they won't allow me to do it on my own. The connection. He makes a partnership, and then they start to roll along, and the prosperity goes forward with them. But then the other families get jealous, and they'll try to sabotage what we're doing. And so ultimately, I get to this goal, by my own means, which is by bringing together 10 Dons, or the heads of the black 10 families together to work with me to be able to fight against this and to be able to like prosper together. So that's kind of like what we've been watching as a third thing, as a line. Um, there's other stuff too. I mean, obviously there's relationship at home with my wife and her movement into feminism and her like active role in the Voting Rights Act. And I think we have like a really complicated relationship. We tell our daughter uh, that our granddaughter that her sister, whom she thinks is her sister, is actually her mother. So this has been it's a really big movement in that side. And Elijah Muhammad's been fighting. Muhammad Ali's been not say Muhammad Ali fighting. Malcolm X has been fighting against inside of the mosque. You know what I mean? And he's kicked out. So we find ourselves in a pretty big pressure cooker with the FBI coming at us at the same time. So riots began in Harlem, mostly because of a shooting of a little boy, and riots began in the Harlem riots. And so it's kind of like it's a lot that goes on. So trying to grab it without it being too confusing.
Like, I mean, isn't it funny? Like, the not funny, but the things that you've just said just are so prescient to what we're dealing with right now. And I know it's a topic that people want to talk about a lot with anyone from your show. But don't you feel that a show like yours is more important now than ever because we inevitably draw parallels between the 1960s and now with current conversations about Black Lives Matter and systemic racism and what's going on with all these shootings and police brutality? Do you find that it's a shame that your show has to be so prescient with what's going on these days?
I mean, I think we realize that this, you know, um, miscarriages of justice, people being killed uh, by the police or by authorities, and people trying to rise up was a problem. That's when we decided to do the show in the first place. That was one of the motivating factors, was that we were going to stand as a prism or a mirror to what's happening today. It just happened that we didn't. I don't think we expected it to be such a clear mirror that there would be uprisings on the streets and that we would suffer through a number of more young black boys being murdered and see the brutality of like a George Floyd and things of that nature. So um, we in the show we reflect that as in our Fruitvale riot, in our Harlem riot, and I think some of the voices that you hear, the protests, the words, the things that are written down on the signs, or things that we see today. So that ability to be able to get people to think about that, to talk and have more dialogue about that, to be able to look at what's going on in their lives and how it affects them, I think is important. And that was one of the reasons why I decided to do the show in the first place. I wouldn't have done it if it was in like the 30s or 20. I just wouldn't have done it. You know, and they came to me with an idea, and then when we talked about it, and I said, okay, look, if we can have it be really focused towards the political side of what's going on with the civil rights movement, then we can do it. And so then the script was, we went out and got a writer. That's when we actually got Chris, and to write the script, and then he became a partner and has like written some amazing scripts all along. So it reflects all the things you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's probably no show that is more relevant to not only police brutality, but as you mentioned earlier, the voting rights, which was such a hot topic in the 1960s and is still a hot topic these days. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to there on both the home front for Bumpy and also amongst the various crime bosses that he's now trying to kind of bring in on his side. It's like he's trying to do what the Italians seem to have mastered for quite some time. And so that's going to set up an epic battle between them, which I frankly am looking forward to. Now, the reason why Godfather of Harlem is so successful is because it does a lot of this stuff through the prism of the criminal underworld. So picking up on what we were saying earlier, I think many of us feel really powerless or hard done by, and we like seeing people do bad things and getting their way. It's like the ultimate aspirational fantasy. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I think that people want to think that you can win at a cost if you fight against things. I think when you're a gangster, or you have your own set of rules, you create your own sort of government inside of what you think, and you act upon it, and you choose to do it. And I think that's empowering because other people don't feel they have the right or the capacity or the ability to just say no. Or if somebody does something wrong, they can actually retaliate against it. So people feel weak. These guys represent people who are standing up and doing that. At the same time, also, they live by a code. And I think there's something that people will like to know. There's an order people want in life too. When you live by a code, you know what to do, what's going to happen, what the punishment will be, and it's those codes that are explored. And I think when people feel like they can have a life like that, where they know what they do, they're a made man, they get this power, they can't be killed. It's something that people aspire to, feeling that sort of certainty and strength about their life. You know.
Yeah, just to me, it's that idea of being untouchable. It's yeah, I think it's quite appealing. Although I would never do it because I don't want to get into trouble. But I hear what you're saying. You know,
And there's also like, I think, because a lot of our audience, I think, is almost 50% or more is women. You know,
uh,
we have a really large woman female base, and I think that comes out of the fact that we deal with all the issues in the family, all the issues that how a family can live. I mean, you see the parallels between me and my daughter, and the parallels between Chin and Stella. And you see the wives as they're trying to control the situation. You see my wife going out in the world and into the voting. She's registering people for voting, and she's trying to protest about the acts and stuff. She's really actively involved in the civil rights movement. But all these things also are, I think, reasons why people are like looking at the show, because it deals with things on a real deeply personal level.
yeah, you know, the women in this cast are so strong. I was going to talk about more about how I would just love to see an episode with just you and Vincent D'Onofrio in a room screaming at each other, because I find that really quite compelling. I don't know why. I just love it. Do you
Uh,
like working with him? I mean, you guys have a really good rapport.
Vincent is amazing as a person and as an actor. I mean, and he's bigger than life. So I know when we go into scenes together, we're gonna be able to find something that's gonna be at times explosive. But what's interesting in this season, you see us do that, of course. Um, but you also see us becoming friends in a weird way. We become partners in the season for like probably about four episodes. Him and I are working together, and like he's happy with it. It's not him even who ends up making it be severed. It's me. You know what I mean? So we're gonna see him, Vincent, as I walk in the room, telling me, "Why don't I just shoot you right now? You blah blah blah," and you come, you think you can come inside of here, and every time you said, I think in a number of scenes, you see him once when I'm in front of the council, and he stands up and he says, "Well," he says, "Let's shoot him. He's dead. Let's kill him right now. Let's kill him right now." He says it all the time, but
I love
ultimately
it.
we become friends at one point.
Oh yeah, I was gonna make it a drinking game every time every time he wanted to shoot you like a dog. I was like, okay, we need to take another one. But I love it. I just love that rapport. And I'm looking forward to seeing the two of the characters actually work together and see where that leads us. It just brings more nuance, and which brings me to this really important question for me because I can't figure it out. I need you to explain to me how Bumpy, as a violent drug kingpin, it's the nuances that make him interesting. He's deeply devoted to his family. He's really loyal. He's principled. He's super calculating. And that begs the age old question because you've been doing this for a very long time in your career. Is it that difficult to play an anti hero who's volatile but somehow relatable?
Yeah, I've played a few.
Yeah, you have.
He's a little different, because he's so, like you say, he's volatile, but he's also extremely contained. He's like I see him more like a banker, trying to walk through his business and get everything done, but that can explode. And there's an undercurrent of what's happening in the world that, with the anger that he carries with him and some of his innate fears that like make you make you make him a really workable character. You just have to figure out when to choose to let that beast out, you know, that anger, that frustration, you know what I mean? And that's that's where I've been with him trying to balance it, and it does come out. I mean, it comes out a number of times in this coming season. I mean, I was joking to the some producers that I've killed more people. I mean, it's like I was just like, what? I kill all eight of them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's, but it's a war that goes on between the families, uh, and I'm part of it. In that case, has to do with the Black Dons and what happens between all of us and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's interesting character. It's an interesting character to try to fulfill, to fill his shoes. And
Yeah, I can imagine a lot. Some of your work, like you can play terrifying really well, like because there's a lot going on underneath, right? That we, like, even for example, in a movie like Arrival, one of my favorites of all time, your character in that movie is not a bad guy, but I found him quite scary, and that's because of the way you're able to play someone who's really commanding and intimidating. Do you enjoy playing characters like that?
I enjoy exploring characters that are unique and different. And a character like that can be fun. It can be hard. It depends. That one I was like full of authority and thinking that I was dealing with like possibly an invasion from outer space. And
Yeah.
with my responsibility, I went and found her to get her to bring her as a linguist and to talk to them. And there was a tension around that probably that he probably felt, because of his drive and his purpose was so strong. And
Yeah.
that's what I kind of gave him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because the stakes are so high, and I feel that a lot of your characters have that mentality, particularly someone like Idi Amin. I remember when, I must say, we talked about your awards last time, but just one thing I didn't raise with you was your Oscar speech, because I'll always remember it's one of my favorites because I love it when someone gets up there and just talks from the heart, and of course thanks certain people, but you went up there and you took about 3 seconds, right? And I'm just reliving your speech, and you took it in, which I found really just lovely to watch. But then you started talking about how dreams are possible, and how you desperately want to connect to people as an actor. I find that so compelling, and I just was wondering if you can recall what it was like to walk up on that stage and hold that Oscar. And do you remember what was going racing through your mind in that particular moment?
I mean, I was first year, I was exhilarated, like it's electric, when they called your name. And when I went up, I was realizing that I was carrying that with me. So I wanted to experience it and remember. Wanted to have to take the second to like experience what it felt like, you know. And I looked out, and it was like some of the guys, all the actors in my category were standing up, and that made me feel amazing as an artist. And then I just started talking about, you know, growing up in South Central and what it meant, you know, to do something like that, to be able to reach your dreams. I mean, I always try to promote people like touching their dreams. I mean, I do it with my company, you know. We do mostly first time filmmakers. Um, we're really fortunate. A couple of our filmmakers are up for Oscars this year, so it's really nice to be able to make people reach their dreams. You know what I mean? And that's what I was trying to communicate. You know, that it's possible, no matter how difficult it is, and how much oppression there is, and how many people you've seen hurt or harmed. Some people die. It is still possible to find a life that's worth living. That's possible to find joy. And that's what I was trying to convey. I had decided that I didn't want to get up and just be dealing with myself. There was an opportunity that I thought should be given to the people to say something that was worthy of worthwhile, you know?
Yeah, because so many of us are paying attention at that particular moment, and it is an opportunity, and some people might squander it. You may never be up there again. I'm really glad that you were able to do that, because I still remember it, and it was years ago now. Like, I can't believe how long it's been since you won that Oscar. I mean, it's almost like it was yesterday, but it was actually quite a while ago. Um, you do a lot of producing, actually, and you've directed quite a number of projects too. Am I right in suggesting that you're attached to the new Rebecca Hall directorial feature debut for Passing that's coming out soon?
You saw Passing?
No, I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Beautiful
It's
film.
really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. No, me and my partner Nina Yang, we produced that film. It's with Tessa Thompson and Ruth Nega and Andre Holland, and deals with really deals with color as far as like being able to pass in color, and also like explores how all individuals pass in some way in their life, based on a book from the 1920s, I think. Um, and it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Do you think you'll get back to the director's chair at some point in the near future, maybe even for this show?
I had like I think they had the thing in my thing for me to direct this year, but I thought it was just the wrong time for me to direct one of these episodes, especially during COVID and stuff, and trying to coordinate like all the boundaries and stuff. So I told them I didn't want to do that this year. I don't think I'm gonna do it. I think I won't. You know, I may direct again. My my representatives have been trying to talk me into directing again. So probably, you know, in a year or two, I might get behind the camera again. You know, but
All right.
this show,
Well,
I think I like it as it is. You know.
yeah, yeah. I think what you're saying is you're on a really good thing, and so you'll just keep it going, and you'll just focus on the performance. My final question is this: so at Gold Derby, we did a feature on you not long ago, where we kind of looked back on your career, and we decided, like we do with other actors that we admire, we ranked your top 15 films, right? And your number one was Last King of Scotland, so that's no big surprise. And my personal favorite came in at number 5, Arrival. But I was just wondering, without thinking about Last King of Scotland, because that's probably what most of us will always remember you for, if you had to think of one, what what role means the most to you, if you're able to even say that out loud? Is there some role from your past that you that means the most to you, or that you learned the most?
Yeah, I mean, they mean different things for different reasons. Um, I would say that, say, like Bird, you know, it taught me to go out on a limb and do whatever that does, you know, to be able to dance on the limb, and if it breaks, I'm good. And I think, you know, Last King, no, Ghost Dog taught me about silence, what the power was in that. And then I'd say Last King taught me about transmutation, about changing my vibration enough to change people. And then the Butler, Um, honestly, like I learned about transcendence like when I was working on it. Sometimes I felt like I was just like in a field of blue, like just there, floating, doing the scenes and stuff. There's seen a movie that I thought was really important to me recently. It's actually a comedy musical called Jingle Jangle,
Oh yeah,
and it's
that was great.
really important to me because I had lost my passion around wanting to act and do my work, and it's been really struggle for me for the last number of years to like get my desire back, you know. And so when I was doing that, the director was so filled with joy and experience was so filled with it that it started to make me like love acting again. So
Yeah.
that's probably the most important films it's happened for me in like a long time.
Yeah, that's lovely. That movie came out of nowhere for me. I just found that to be such a joy to experience. And I was hoping you would also say Bird because I was 11 years old. I remember you won Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival. I was just a baby, really, but I remember watching that and thinking,
Oh, nice.
wow, wow, what an amazing performance. It's such a gift, mate, that you're able to look back on decades of work. Once you're long gone in decades to come, people will always look back on Forest Whitaker performances. So that's a real gift. And speaking of that, I'm looking forward to season 2 of Godfather of Harlem. It is such an impressive, fun show to immerse yourself in. So congrats on a great season
Thanks.
2 and good luck.
Thanks a lot. It's great talking to you.